This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 874 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip features Annette Gavin from Hasselo Competition Saddles, and she is joined by eventers Nate Chambers and Joe Meyer from the Eventing Radio Show. And together they are going to answer a listener question about the challenges of getting a Thoroughbreds saddle fit just right. And we'll get right to our tip after this Nutrition Minute from Kentucky Performance Products.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
Have you heard of a yeast called Saccharomyces boulardii? It's a type of probiotic that benefits your horse's digestive tract. Often referred to as S. boulardii, it works in several different ways. One unique property of S. boulardii is that it supports the stimulation of the enzymes found in the intestinal lining. These enzymes help your horse digest starches and sugars in the small intestine. When the sugars and starches are more completely digested, fewer of them escape into the hindgut, where they can ferment and cause imbalances that may lead to colic, diarrhea, and laminitis. Saccharomyces boulardii is found in Nalox Advanced, made by Kentucky Performance Products. Nalox Advanced contains a blend of yeast, fermentation solubles, and stomach buffers. These ingredients work together to maintain your horse's digestive tract in peak condition. Nalox Advanced is recommended for horses of all ages and stages and is fed on a daily basis.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
On Nate and Joe's tips today, we've got a question from one of our listeners in my own home country, New Zealand. Her name is Becky, and she wants to know a little bit about fitting saddles to thoroughbreds. Her question roughly goes along the lines of most people have thoroughbreds that are a little bit difficult to fit with a high wither, and a lot of people just buy pads for them, and the pads don't really work. And how do we find a way to fit saddles to a thoroughbred that has a high wither, saddle pockets behind the shoulders, and how we get them to stay there without them slipping back the whole time? Yeah, hi Annette. So you've heard that question? Did you get a chance to read it?
Yes, I did. And yes, we do have the same troubles over here with our horses, especially the thoroughbreds. And the trouble with thoroughbreds is that they have really long spinal processes, and sometimes they also have really long withers that come right back under the saddle. So what she's looking for in terms of a saddle is one that has a long point, and that's where she's running into trouble. Near enough all dressage saddles have a long point on them, but jumping saddles generally have a short point. So what she needs to do...
Just quickly explain to us what you mean by a long and a short point.
Okay, so the point is the piece at the front of the saddle that comes down and is actually the front of the pommel there. It goes down into a pocket at the front of the saddle, off of the tree, and sits in that point pocket and supports the front of the tree up off of the horse's back, making the pommel. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Good. Okay, so that point has to be long when there's a deep dip behind the shoulder blade. What happens with a short point is the front of the saddle falls down and backwards into that deep pocket behind the shoulder blade, and the front of the saddle isn't supported. So the first thing she needs is a long point. Then secondly, saddles generally, if they're well made these days, come with what we call front gussets. And they can come with a long one, a short one, or a sort of a medium-sized one. And that gusset helps to support that point as well and keep the saddle up in front. And then thirdly, a drop panel or trapezius panel, which means that the panel, instead of just curving up in a straight line, comes down and fills in that drop area, that hollow behind the shoulders, so that you can flock into it and keep the saddle away from the horse and allow the shoulder to move correctly. Your shoulder shouldn't ever get hit by the tree, and it only gets hit by the tree when the actual pommel drops down and there's no support in the front of the panel. So those are things she needs to look for in a saddle. Now, what type of saddles have that? Truly, Thoroughbreds and Kenton Masters have a very good saddle on a symmetry which is adjustable, and they do a high wither version in everything with a long point, even in a flat close contact saddle. Now, we do the same on the same tree, but ours is a much more expensive saddle, obviously. Hastilo do an Event Master with a long point on it, which you can have for Thoroughbreds as well, but ours is a much more expensive saddle. I think we are talking at this moment to one lady who might be taking our saddles in New Zealand, but at this present time there isn't anybody selling them there. She could buy them over the net, though, by doing going through our fitting service, and that would be fine. But she'd be better off to look for somebody who sells the Kenton Masters brand or Fairfax brand, and those are the same saddles, go right down to the Thoroughbreds T4s and T8s. Well, really, basically, that's what she's looking for, you know, I mean, in terms of the panel that she wants and the saddle she wants. What she's not getting, what she hasn't got, is a saddle with a long enough point and enough support in the front of the panel, so it's falling down and sliding back.
So in the meantime, Annette, is it possible to do things like, you know, if the saddle has 3 billet straps, to perhaps use the back 2 billet straps to help to hold the saddle forward?
Yes, that might help a little. And certainly if anything that she's using is on a point strap, that's going to be a disaster on this horse, because it's going to pull the point of that saddle down terribly, whether it's a dressage saddle or a jumping saddle. The other thing they can do is to use Thoroughbreds again, Fairfax saddles, do a ProLite pad, which is an excellent fitting pad, and you can put shims in that, and it's by far superior to most pads.
Yep. I mean, we have a pad here, and without any shameless self-promotion, one of my sponsors, Equine Comfort Products, do various range of sheepskin pads, which you can either put slivers in the front, the back, and things. And I have to say, I have one pad in my yard which has got no name on it whatsoever. It's just a big, thick one with a massive hole in the withers. That does seem to help keep saddles a little bit higher. But I think from what you're saying in it, that's the gist of it is to try and raise the front of the saddle, but ideally by having a proper fitting saddle.
That's right. What she needs, because it's probably not that the tree width is wrong, it's just that the panel and the design of the tree is not right for the horse. As I say, the point isn't long enough, because these horses have tall withers. And if you have a short point, it's going to fall in that hole.
Yeah, I mean, I've had plenty of Thoroughbreds, as you know, and one of the things that I found, especially with a horse Thoroughbred with a big moving shoulder, is if the saddle wasn't fitted properly, like you say, the next thing you know, you're sitting way back behind the shoulder.
That's right.
And it's just, you get off and look at the saddle and go, oh my goodness, how did I even ride there? And one of the saddles that was made for me was probably exactly the way that you've described, but made in the way so that it allowed the shoulder to move underneath the saddle, but still staying in place.
That's right. As soon as you have a long point and you have a front gusset on the saddle, then that allows the shoulder to move freely through just, with the saddle, and it doesn't get in its way. It's when the saddle falls down and the point goes into that pocket that the shoulder is impeded.
So hopefully, Becky, we've given you a little bit of an insight onto that without having to research all of the makes of saddles and things that are in New Zealand at the moment. I can't really, I'm not really qualified to talk about it much more. But if you need any further help, just get back in touch with us. And likewise, if you need to get in touch with Annette, Annette, where do we find you?
Info, INFO, at Hastillow, HSTILOWUSA.com.
Okay. Thank you very much, Annette.
She could also get in touch with the Society of Master Saddlers through their website, and there would be a list of independent qualified saddle fitters in New Zealand.
Well, there you go. And you can find lots more tips on topics ranging from barn care to websites for horse people at horsetipdaily.com. Just look for the topics drop-down menu on the left. That's left. You can tune in every week at eventingradio.com for all of the latest news from the eventing universe, plus interviews and advice from top riders from around the world. And don't forget to support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily because they really do make these podcasts possible. Today's podcast has been brought to you through the generous support of Kentucky Performance Products. And now you can have all of your favorite Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go with the free app for Horse Radio Network for iPhone and Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.